Hello everyone, welcome to episode 24 of Last Minute FPL. This is the double Gameweek 24 part podcast. Hi Vikas, how are you?
Doing well. How are you? Uh, this is a new era for me. We'll go into the teams, but this is a completely new era and second half of FPL truly for my team.
Yeah, and we'll go further into it, but definitely most managers the week that they actually get rid of Haaland, they have a really big reward. So hopefully the same happens for you. Um, but we'll start with last week's teams, and what better place to start than with Calvert-Lewin getting injured on my team. Although, yeah, I did get the most points out of the three of us this week, but I think all three teams had a red arrow, not a great week overall. Um, yeah, and I got Calvert-Lewin a week early because Solanke got injured, and he duly rewarded me with a 10th minute injury. Instead of Gakpo, who went on to get 16 points, which was a bit of a disappointing thing. And then Van Dijk losing his clean sheet in the 93rd minute. Pretty sad, but yeah, I would have benched Semenyo, and in the end, it's like a 7 point loss. But and a transfer of Calvert-Lewin pending. But yeah, I mean, overall 60 points, not much of a red arrow. Salah scored and Isak getting a brace, but quite a few blanks. Very happy about Semenyo getting that late goal though.
He's been doing so well for you. Well, what a troll, Calvert Lewin. I mean, this is something we spoke about in the previous episode. Um, Bit of an expected reaction, but didn't expect it to happen in 1 week. I thought we'll be maybe 3 weeks down the line talking about how he's gotten 0 goals, but this really tops it all off, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I assumed that the worst thing that could happen is blanks all around, and he'd get like maybe 4 points in the double game week or three if it's a yellow card. But I didn't expect him to get such a serious injury, right? And then to top it off, Everton won a penalty, and he wasn't. I mean, anyway, I benched him, but still, it's just hilarious.
It's unfortunate. I think you went for that floor, at least like a decent floor.
And I didn't get the floor.
You got the boot.
Yeah. Cool. Moving on to your team, you also got a very small red arrow, 58 points. Pretty good week. Haaland finally doing the returns just before you let him go. How did you find the week?
Okay. I think the disappointments, the one of the biggest disappointment for me has been Saad, who's done absolutely nothing since I got him. Maybe like an assist or something like that. But even with Haaland scoring 12 points, I mean, that's a pretty good score. It got a red arrow. So I'm really kind of delighted to just shuffle my team and see how things look going forward. Defense still okay. Of course, it wasn't as good as what it could have been. Really happy that I can remove Sanchez, especially who's been a absolute shambles for me, both from Chelsea's perspective and also from my team. And it's due for a makeover. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I think you also have five free transfers. So excited to see what you're going to be doing with that because it's effectively half a wild card, which is awesome. Cool. Moving on to the AI team. I think this was a bad week for the AI after a long time. Fell quite a bit from 3K to 7K. In danger of falling out of the top 10K soon. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the players who did well for it were players that were owned by everyone. And going for double Liverpool defense meant that it couldn't get Gakpo last week, even though he was rated highly in the projections. And yeah, just like my team, Mikalenko and Greaves on the bench getting 6 points each. Not a terrible week overall, but it caused a big red arrow at its rank.
Yeah, and especially with Salah captaincy, everyone has, and Isak as well, extremely highly owned. There's nothing else in this team actually going for the AI. So expected bad week because of so many good weeks, and just want to take in the stride for the AI.
Yeah, Gordon's someone who's been doing well for it for a while now, but I think there have been other midfielders also doing just as much as him at a lower price. But yeah, let's see the moves that it makes and how it recovers from this. And to top it off for the AI team, let's take a look at the mini league standings. It's been knocked out of the first place. So Conte gaining 28 points this week, jumping to an overall rank of 6K. So we have a proper title race on our hands.
Yes, huge congratulations to Conte, the new league leader, and on Team Human. So for maybe the first time Human taking the lead, I don't know, but big congratulations. Not an easy feat, especially at the rank that the AI is at.
Yeah, and 2 humans, right? Conte, like making up for the AI. And I mean, if we look further down the table, let's see where we are. I fell a couple of spots to 18th, and your team continues to be 31st. But I think at this point, you probably don't care about the league position.
I was hoping for that 25th spot we spoke about last time. Even that's not happening.
All in good time. Yeah, I think now even there's like a 60-point gap between 25th, but I think that is something that can be made up with a lot of chips, and I think this year with assistant manager also there'll be a high variance.
That's my goal for this season, 25.
It's a good goal. It's not often you can aim for that. Maybe we should remove the league code from the screen. So.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Let's move on. Let's look at last week's games now. So this week I actually caught a lot of the games because I woke up for the 7 a.m. games and I watched the NBC Goal Rush. I'll probably first talk about the Fulham United game though, the Sunday game. It was a pretty boring game. United were clearly the inferior team, but they hung in there, and it was an okay performance. They got the goal in the end, and they almost got a second as well, which was ruled out for offside. I think overall, and even in the Europa League, they found some way of grinding out some results, but they're still effectively a mid-table team who can go, sometimes good, sometimes not so good.
It's an impressive result at the end of the day. I think 1-0 against Fulham is not easy. Fulham, Bournemouth, I feel like these have been the standout teams in terms of the lower top tems at the moment. So great result, honestly.
Lucky goal for sure. Martinez's shot from outside the box deflecting over the keeper.
The XG doesn't read too kind on the scoreline, but clean sheet, that's good.
Yeah, I think I'll talk about the Liverpool-Ipswich game next because Lott was riding on that game, and Gakpo was amazing. Like he was the player who was cutting in from the left, and I mean in hindsight, Ipswich at home is such a good fixture to bring him in. Well done to all the managers who made that move. But yeah, Liverpool, nothing new. They were dominant. They could have had more. It's all the good stuff. They're continuing to rack up more than 2 XG per game. They really should have kept a clean sheet, but they turned off some concentration towards the end, and Alisson made a couple of saves before finally one going in from a corner.
That's a bit of a thorn for those who own Trent, right? It's such a big difference having that clean sheet. I regret not getting Gakpo last week a little bit, but at the end of the day, when you look at, go to the City game, Haaland did well as well. But yeah, again, like you said, kudos to those who did get Gakpo for this game. And from what I saw, he did get into really great positions, like up front. I think Salah was more creative, and Gakpo was in the box a lot. So that's really promising for those who have him moving into the double game week as well.
Yeah, and also I think he created the goal for Salah as well, and I mean that was a great finish from Salah from a tight angle. And one more point is that Trent actually looked really good in attack. So he did get the assist, and he hit the crossbar, and he almost assisted Gakpo for another goal. So I think in attack, with Liverpool being the stingiest defense and Trent continuously off late, he's been getting the attacking returns as well. I think it's a good I think he's a must-have for the double if people are looking to bring in a second Liverpool player.
Okay, yeah. We have to talk about Bournemouth 5-0 against Forest. That's a massive result, given how Forest has been playing, their defense being one of the standout defenses in the league. Tango with the hat trick, I think, right? Um, he was been showing up in the data quite a bit. I think when we did that projection maybe 5 to 6 weeks back, he was one of the standout players in terms of underlying data. And I think Kluivert again getting some points as well. What a result that is for Bournemouth.
Yeah, last week Kluivert and this week Dango, another hat trick. Hopefully next week Semenyo against Liverpool though. But yeah, I think Bournemouth are finally reaping the rewards for all the chances they've been creating. Throughout the season, they've been ranked very high in attacking data, and it's finally converting to goals.
Yeah, attack versus defense, and attack won in this game.
Yeah. I'll also talk about the Wolves Arsenal game. Arsenal were down to 10 pretty early on, controversial red card decision, and then they kind of really had to hold on till Wolves also went down to 10, and then it became a more even game, and Arsenal coming out on top with their and the defense keeping a clean sheet as well. So all the people who have double defense finally getting their reward.
Yeah, really good game for those with that defense. Moving on to the City 3-1 against Chelsea. I think we called this again last week that don't expect Chelsea getting a result City away, and it kind of played out on expected lines. I thought Chelsea started pretty well. Again, not very clinical in the box, and Sanchez made quite a few bad errors. City really got into the game, and Haaland looked good. Haaland looked good in this game, as he has in the last few games. And City just took control of the game as the game went on, and could have been more. But 3-1, I think, was a fair result.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, City could they're into the next round of the Champions League, and they'll likely play Real or Bayern. Yeah, and I think they are hitting their stride at a decent time. They can, seal a top 4 finish quite comfortably still, which tells you how good their start to the season was, because for a long time they couldn't put together 3 points no matter what. But at least the curse seems to be behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Any other game?
Yeah, and also their new signing, City's new signing, the Egyptian winger Marmoush, he looks amazing. Like he looked
very good.
Yeah.
He looked very good. The new Egyptian king.
Yeah, he looked incredible. Exciting player. Cool. Let's move on now. We'll take a look at next week's games. Because this is a double game week, we have 11 games. And in fact, maybe we'll take a look at this view, because this combines Liverpool and Everton's both their games projected goals and clean sheets. So definitely Liverpool and Everton are the two teams to target. Liverpool projected to score more than 4 goals with a 58% chance of getting at least 1 clean sheet. And Everton, even despite their terrible attack, 2.58 goals projected and 45% of at least 1 clean sheet. So definitely transfers, I think for this week at least, should be focused on these two teams.
Yeah, quite exciting to have a double game week in FPL. I mean, adding up Liverpool's XG, it's like 4.3 for this week. That's ridiculous. Yeah. They've been such a dominant team, so I'm not surprised with this data. Agree. Any transfers and I've made some transfers as well and focused on these two teams. So yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I think apart from Liverpool and Everton, probably Chelsea playing at home to West Ham is a good game to target. Palmer, for the last few weeks, seems to be going under the radar a bit. It's a good chance for him to put his hand up and tell us that he's still there. Otherwise, people may even start selling him.
I think this is a dicey game. It's a London derby. West Ham have turned up in these games, so I'm not confident on this game.
Yeah, West Ham usually turn up 3 or 4 times a season, doing just enough to survive. But I just don't see it. I think Chelsea are a level above what they've been in the recent seasons. Maybe
the confidence is low. It's clear. Mm-hmm. Because Jackson, I think, he's not scored in his last 15 shots or something ridiculous like that. So confidence is low, and Palmer's creativity is absolutely ruined because if there's no one who's finishing it, Jackson was very clinical, so Palmer's getting quite a few assists early on. If no one's converting, then Palmer's creative threat is out. Then you're depending on Palmer scoring goals himself, and yeah, that really cuts down what the number of different ways in which Palmer can get points.
I think it only takes 1 or 2 goals in a game for everyone to click into place, right? Like they're all exciting young players. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. Maybe they're inconsistent, but should be enough to beat West Ham comfortably.
I think now they're down to 6th or 7th. It is pretty doom and gloom, and really that they're in that pack of really slipping down the table. Like if they have a few, and the fixtures are turning for Chelsea. They did have a favorable run in where they've dropped a ton of points. I wouldn't be surprised if this is another mid-table finish, maybe worse than last season.
I think that's a bit too soon to think of that. I think still favorites to finish in the top 4. But yeah, let's see how it turns out. I think the other...
Brentford, Tottenham. Yeah. Brentford is projected 2.15 goals. I mean, they're good at home, and Tottenham's defense is bad, so not surprising, but interesting to see that data still.
Yeah, I think Wissa and Mbumo are going to be good options, and I see a lot of managers bringing them in ahead of Everton attackers, which I think is a good move if you have the spare transfers. Yeah, and Spurs are struggling with getting players back into contention, stuck between deciding whether to play youngsters or like some of the old stalwarts who really shouldn't be starting anymore. But I think apart from that, Newcastle, Fulham, maybe you can say Newcastle because they've been doing so well. But apart from that, it's not a game week that has too many one-sided games. Even the double that Liverpool has is not the easiest on paper. So as someone who's already used the triple captain, does Salah scare you? Apart from the fact that you don't know what's going to happen, it's not the worst game week to not have him.
Yeah, but it scares me. Salah still scares me with Bournemouth, and Bournemouth's not an easy game. I think that'll be a tough game, but Liverpool will still be on for goals. So it does worry me. Both games are not easy. I don't think even Everton, Liverpool, though Liverpool historically, I think that given how strong they are, they probably win pretty easily against Everton, but on paper it just doesn't feel easy both games.
Yeah, and Everton have been quite good defensively this year. They'll at least maybe make it a little bit hard. And an interesting graphic on the right we have is because this is the first week where you can get an assistant manager in. So this is the projected points for this game week. Right at the top are the 2 double game week managers, Slot and Moyes. Moyes, in fact, would have got 19 points last week for that 1-0 win against against Brighton, because they got a clean sheet, they got a goal, they got a table bonus win. So that's the kind of points you could get. Of course, most managers won't get there. Like there were a bunch of managers who got 0 when they were going for table bonus. But that kind of shows you what the variance and points for this chip could be.
I think the only thing I don't like about this chip is it takes away a slot, because if I want to get slot, then I'm thinking, will Gakpo get more than 14.5 points or Trent get more than 14 points? Possibly, right? Like it's definitely possible. Or maybe they get similar points, because Slot also gets points for goals and clean sheets and so on. So I haven't done the math, but it doesn't seem like you gain too much just from this week having Slot instead of one of the other Liverpool guys.
Yeah, I think that it makes sense in a big game, double game week, where you already have enough double game week players and you're adding to it with a manager. I think that's probably the highest you could get. But I do have to mention that this is still higher projected points than like someone's like a Gakpo or a Trent, because this is almost like 7 points per game that is being projected, which is like Salah-esque numbers. But yeah, it doesn't sit right to sacrifice a Liverpool spot for a manager.
Yeah, it doesn't feel optimal because you're just getting the different points essentially.
Right.
Whereas you ideally want to target the complete set of points in addition to having strong players from the teams that you want.
Yeah, and also what assistant manager chip does is you're locked out from using chips for those 3 weeks. And apparently a lot of managers have realized that once you bring a manager in, it counts as a transfer. So if you want to switch to another manager, you have to make another transfer. So some people were rudely coming to that realization where they've already used some transfers.
I think if I am playing it this week, I'd consider it on Moyes more than Slot, because you can play him for Leicester at home. Probably, good chance of getting something from that. And who knows, if Liverpool draw against Everton draw against Liverpool, that's going to be a lot of points. And then you can move him out. You can move Moyes out to maybe like a Tottenham manager or Arteta, and gain some points that way as well.
Yeah, in fact, there is a small possibility that Spurs have a double in game week 25. And if that's announced before this deadline, then maybe assistant manager will be on the table for many managers. But I think the fact that you have to make an extra transfer means that you have to free up some funds to get him in, and it may not be so conducive to building your team with some last minute fixture news. Interesting to see that Pep is the third last on this table. Of course, because he doesn't have table bonus and because it's Arsenal away, but it's weird that a fantasy game with managers and Pep is like the third least projected. Cool. Let's move on to the fixtures. We already spoke about the double game week, so Everton and Liverpool, of course, right at the top with some decent fixtures after the double as well. But apart from that, Brentford and Chelsea still looking really strong, actually.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's reached a stage where wins are not clear, but good. West Ham, Southampton, Leicester all still good on paper. So 3 out of the next 5 still looking pretty strong on paper. So you're right from that perspective. Also really love Brentford's fixtures. Tottenham, West Ham, Leicester, Everton, Villa. I think that's really good for attack. Fixture turn, City, terrible. Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Tottenham, Forest feels really, really bad. Maybe except for that Spurs game, which could be very profitable. But Spurs have a good knack of getting some results against City.
Yeah, it's crazy. City just got through the Chelsea game, and the game that pops in at the end is a Forest away game. So it's interesting to see if Forest will collapse given the 5-0. They don't really... we've seen this from teams where they do really well till Jan or Feb, and then they kind of sit on the beach, or let's see if they push for a Champions League spot. The other team whose fixtures I really like are Bournemouth. After this week, after Liverpool at home, they have Southampton, Wolves, Brighton and Spurs. And I think, I'm going to play Semenyo this week because of Calvert-Lewin's injury, and he's probably going to match what Calvert-Lewin would have got anyway with hopefully 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, I agree. I have been looking into getting a Bournemouth player. Even this week, I did consider getting a player early, especially to avoid some of those price rises, given they did so well. I completely agree. They're on my target list after this week.
Yeah, I think that would be the ideal time to get them in. Cool. Let's move on then. So this is the team attacking data view. This time we're looking at just the last 6 game weeks to see what the trends are looking like, and it's looking like business as usual for City. Like they're in the top right along with Liverpool. Very interesting to and Bournemouth are also finally getting the goals that the XG it matches the XG that they're creating. So that's good to see as well.
Yeah, the big change here is seeing City back at where they usually are, and it kind of shows even with eye test they look really good. They look strong, except the fixtures are difficult. So this is the inopportune time to actually see them here and take any action, because probably most people aren't going to get City players, even though they're so far ahead here in terms of goals.
It's great to see how consistent Liverpool are. No matter how you slice and dice the data, they're always there at that 2.2 xg, 2.5 xg. Like if you look at the whole season, they're there. Defensively, they're always there. Like Arsenal, on the other hand, they've had a big slump. They've gotten closer to the middle of the pack. Maybe they're missing Saka, but it's surprising to see that they're alongside teams like Brentford, Fulham, and Forest.
The other notable thing here, I think again we touched upon it, is how bad Chelsea have been underperforming their data.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've been creating chances, but just extremely bad in terms of clinical finishing, and shows here as well that you're expecting points from these players, and they're doing well, but it's just not happening.
But at least I think that shows that things are going to be fine. I feel like, for example, if you look at United or Spurs for that matter, the XG created is so low; it's barely above 1. So even if they overperform slightly, you're not going to get too many returns. I mean, it's very unlikely you're going to win games because these teams don't even have a good defense. Whereas Chelsea, they are probably behind only Liverpool, City, and Newcastle. So they at least expected to score 2 goals again.
Agree. Yeah. I mean, on paper, they're what, like fourth in underlying data and for attack. So it's better than where United and Spurs are. But but we didn't overload our team, or I didn't overload my team with expensive players from United and Spurs. So that's where it's hurting seeing the underperformance.
Cool. Let's look at defense. Once again, this is for the last 6 game weeks. And again, consistently, Liverpool continue to be top. Arsenal right there with them. And interestingly, City's defense hasn't done so well in terms of expected goals conceded, but goals conceded, they look like they've shut shop a bit.
Yeah. Might be a factor of like some of the easier games as well. I still don't think City's like eye test wise, they don't look extremely good defensively, although their attack looks great.
Yeah.
And even though they had easier fixtures, they're still, as per this data, they're still conceding chances. So I think again, like given City's fixtures coming up, it's just pretty much not a topic of even thinking about City's defense in terms of transfer targets. Southampton is like the anti-Liverpool. Whichever way you slice it, they always show up on the top right for defensive data. Perfect team to target for any fixture, any point in time in the season.
Yeah, and the other teams that I think to be targeted, like you can see West Ham are closer to Ipswich and Southampton now. Wolves and Leicester we know are not great defensively, and the Spurs logo is trying to hide behind the Leicester logo, but it's pretty bad as well. Weird to see that Forest have like slumped to the middle. I don't know if it's just a matter of one game because Bournemouth didn't create. I think they created only 1.7 xg, but it looks like they're slightly regressing from their first 20-ish games.
And good to see Bournemouth so far, so good in terms of their defensive data here, because they've been pretty good in terms of attacking data all through the season. But given where they're showing here in defensive data, the all-round, I think, pretty much a form team, kind of how Newcastle were about 7-8 weeks back when they really came into form both attack and defense.
Yeah, and Bournemouth and Everton showing up here. Not a great sign for me, as I'm planning to triple captain Salah. But yeah, 2 games is, I guess, worth a shot.
I think, yeah, it's the 2 games, and Liverpool are just abnormal in terms of data. So even if teams are they're playing more difficult teams, they'll probably still create chances.
Cool. Let's move on to the position-wise analysis. So once again, with City's tough fixtures, Haaland doesn't show up in the top 10 forwards for projections. Isak right up there and Gakpo right behind him, almost catching up to him because of the double game week. And Darwin as well is projected quite highly. And after that, it's directly to Wissa, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, really interesting. It's pretty crazy not seeing Haaland here in the top 10. I do think that he will probably score more points than a bunch of players here eventually. Because even though there are more difficult fixtures, I don't see City just blanking. They'll probably concede goals and score goals. Yeah, Gakpo, for me, I think the player to target this week if you don't have him is Gakpo. It's easy to say after kind of how he scored a lot of goals, but it just makes sense with the double game weeks coming up and the good fixtures from Liverpool, even beyond that.
Yeah, and the other player who shows up here is Ndai. So he'll be on penalties now that Calvert-Lewin is out, and he'll probably be guaranteed to play. So he's another double game week option, although a little of an underwhelming one because of Everton's attack.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of like the logic that
It's basically Calvert-Lewin part 2.
yeah,
but
but without the curse. It'll be interesting to look at the graph on the right because this is just the last 6 game weeks now. So Isak, as we know, is far and ahead, doing the best. But Haaland and Gakpo is almost at Isak's level. Interesting to see the players who are creating the most XG. Awani has very high XGI per 90. And I think Watkins and Nunez have good returns. Nunez with his 2 goals off the bench, definitely helping him. And Nketiah also has good return.
Yeah. A lot of players clustered in the middle. I'm trying to see, there's anyone there that's interesting because I do have a lot of transfers. But looking at this data, 2 players that definitely make sense to me are Isak and Gakpo, and I'm still trying to spot who might be that third forward if I had to target. One, and it's not clear to me yet.
Haaland?
Yeah, Haaland, but the table on the left says otherwise, so he doesn't show up in the top 10 at all at 15 million.
But yeah, I think Calvert-Lewin also shows up this time. But
I think we'll go to my team, but it's Ndai.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making the same mistake that you are just a week ago, but I'm looking at Ndai.
I mean, at least like he's gonna play. So, I mean, even if things go wrong, it'll go wrong when he's on your team and not like me when I did 1 week early, just to avoid a Solanke drop. So
I think if the Dow game week was not there, in all seriousness, I would probably go Pisa. He'd be the third player.
Yeah, I think that's what I've seen a lot of other managers doing, completely ignoring Everton and going for Brentford players. And same with Mbeumo. And like, let's move into midfielders when we talk about him. He's also pretty highly rated in the projections for midfielders. After Salah, Palmer and the double game week players, it's basically Kluivert who's in great form, and Bournemouth have good fixtures. Mbeumo, good fixtures. Gordon, good team. Bruno is the outlier who keeps getting picked for no good reason. And then again, it's Diaz and McAllister. Interesting to see Luis Diaz far below someone like Shobas Salai. 18. I think he has really good underlying data, and he like kind of ticks over a bit like Eriksson kind of used to, because or even Henderson, he used to get quite a few goals. But yeah, I wouldn't go for someone like him when there are so many other exciting options.
Yeah, I think it's pretty crazy seeing where Jota is ahead of Salah, quite ahead of Salah in terms of both goal, like the underlying data, and the goals and assists, which is very interesting to see. I don't know if there's some sort of different shape that Liverpool have been going into, but both Gakpo and Jota really shining here.
Yeah,
Kluivert, another player who's abnormal in terms of where he's at, in terms of goals and assists, but not very promising in terms of underlying data. He is overperforming quite a bit.
Yeah, I think with someone like Jota, it's because it's per 90, and you can never really expect him to get 90. Even when he starts, he's always sub by the 60th minute. So effectively, you can have a discount on that return. It's weird to see where Palmer is in this. He's gone back to the Bruno gang. And Ahmad is someone who's very exciting. I mean, he played really well last match as well, and I think he could have got more. At his price point, there are a few options, and I think that he's only getting better week on week. He's someone I would recommend if you like misery, because there are some good options like Bournemouth players and even Newcastle players who still have some decent fixtures.
The other notable player here, Foden, has been on absolute fire. If you had Foden, would you sell him at this point? Given that he's done so well, I probably still would, because just take the points and run towards someone who has better fixtures. But he's been a superstar over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I'd sell him. Someone who's doubling, or just to create some money to move into some other position. But yeah, he's been in great form. Same with Savio. I think both of them have been crucial to City's return to form. Cool. Let's look at defenders now. Once again, it's the Liverpool top four at the top, and then the Arsenal defenders. They have some good fixtures after the City game. The next game is City, but after that, they have some good games. And then Chaloba shows up. And then it's Tarkowski from the Everton double defense, and Anthony Robinson continues to be up there because of his attacking threat.
Yeah, I think kind of similar to what we anticipated. Just looking at the players here, they're all players that we have been considering. Trent, Munoz showing up pretty good in terms of XGI. Matson is interesting. I think he's a player that I've not really thought about much showing up in the data. He wasn't starting, right? Quite a few games. I don't know if it's just the per 90 data or...
Yeah, it's probably because, again, sub appearances, and maybe he's gotten a few returns, which is boosting his per 90. Same with Tsimikas. Like, he's probably not going to start regularly. So, not someone to consider.
But this just tells me, like, just keep at it. Robinson, Hall, Munoz, Guardiola, they're all great. Trent. Nothing much that has changed my perception looking at this at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the attacking defenders have been doing well. Like, as you can see, players like Hall and Robinson and like even Paro overperforming their XG. Munoz is probably the only one who's been...
What's notable here is not seeing Arsenal defenders at the outliers. You would expect like a Gabriel or a Timber, a Saliba to kind of show up somewhere here. That's the notable aspect.
Yeah, I think maybe because this is the past 6 game weeks and they haven't... I think Timber got an assist, but other than that, I think it's been a while since they got
The Arsenal defenders have been quiet.
Yeah, for a while. And I mean, this week they got some clean sheet and bonus, but double defense owners were getting frustrated a bit. Cool, let's look at keepers now. Yeah, I think it's basically just two options, Allison and Pickford. If you're willing to make the move for a double game week player, I'd personally go Pickford because there are more upside players in Liverpool, and from experience I can say that it's probably better to target Everton defense than attack. So yeah, I think Pickford is the move for me.
Completely agree. I think because there are just better Liverpool players to go for, I would go Pickford too.
Yeah. Cool. Let's look at our teams now. Starting with the AI team. It's made one transfer. Finally moved on Cells after a great, I think almost 20 weeks of owning him. Moving him on to Pickford for the double game week. Triple captain active on Salah. So 5 double game week players with the 2 Everton defenders, Mikalenko and Pickford. Van Dijk, Trent and Salah from Liverpool. And then Wissa, Isak, Gordon, Palmer, Eze and Rogers. I think it's a great team on paper. Probably the only thing missing is the third Everton player, or maybe a little uncomfortable about benching someone like a Hall. But I think this is a good team.
No, it's a great team, honestly. And I don't think you miss too much by not having a third Everton attacker, because very easily you can imagine Eze, Rogers, Gordon, Wissa, they're all great players. They could return this week. Maybe Eze might be the only weakness a little bit, but would you really feel comfortable with a Calvert-Lewin over someone like a Rogers? I don't know, with Wolves away.
Yeah, I think, Eze also has United defense haven't really been great. Maybe the Fulham defense can be frustrating to play against for Newcastle, but given their attack, it's a decent bet to make. Otherwise, I think all the attacking players have good fixtures on paper.
And you're definitely playing the triple captaincy, right? There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. The AI team is playing it. Yes. Cool. Moving on to my team. I'm starting Calvert-Lewin because I got him in just at least for the screenshot. I should be able to see an extra double game week player. Um, I was actually hoping for some miraculous recovery even after Moyes said he'll be out for many weeks. I kept looking at the news. But in the end, yeah, I think Bournemouth will create chances against Liverpool, so it's fine. I'm not going to take a hit to move him on. I'll let Semenyo play, and hopefully he sneaks a return somewhere. Although that will come at the expense of my double Liverpool defense, so I just can't win. But yeah, pretty happy with the team otherwise. Four double game week players in defense. Salah triple captain. And then I'm happy with the fixtures that Rogers, Palmer, Isak, and even Bruno. I think he's due a goal now. He's been playing pretty well. I'm hopeful of getting something. Not too happy about playing Pedro. He's been a bit frustrating. But hopefully with Forest showing some chink in their armor, I hope he gets something. And I'm benching Gabriel against City.
I mean, this team looks very strong as well. And maybe even stronger than the AI team, honestly, just looking at it. Semenyo is not a bad option at all, coming in for Calvert-Lewin. Liverpool home, Bournemouth, given how they're playing, it could be a very close match. So, very strong team, and you're pretty locked on triple captain as well, right?
Yeah.
There's
no assistant manager possibility. I'll have to make 2 transfers to get rid of a player and then get a manager in. So I don't
makes sense.
Yeah.
And any transfers this week that you did?
Yeah, I moved Henderson to Pickford. Yeah. I thought it was just better to do that rather than get rid of Calvert-Lewin and get someone like Endai.
Makes sense. Yeah. I think Pickford, I mean, even with losing clean sheets, you get save points with Pickford. No such saving grace for forwards, especially with Everton's attacking data.
Yeah, and I didn't want to make the same mistake twice in 2 weeks in a row. But yeah.
Makes sense.
Cool. Moving on to your team. Oh, wow. This looks very different from what it was.
So it's 5 transfers played.
Wow.
So the Haaland has left the team for Gakpo.
What a moment.
Then João Pedro has left the team for NDI. Fallen in the same trap that you did last week, but hopefully they at least take the Leicester game, like something, without getting an injury in that game. I'll be happy with that floor of 4 points through the 2 games. Third transfer was who was that? Enzo Fernandez, who's been kind of regressed back to how he was early on in the season, to Mbeumo. Then Sanchez, who I'm really glad getting out, because I do think he'll be dropped as well, personally, because I think it was put to Maresca that he's made the most errors, big errors leading to goal, and he did kind of respond by saying that he's aware of that, which is ominous. So he's out for Pickford, which I think is a no-brainer given the double game weeks. And the last transfer was
Munoz to Trent.
Munoz to Trent, who kind of rounds up my 3 Liverpool attack.
This is like an insane leveling up, like especially getting someone like an Mbeumo in midfield with the fixtures coming up, being able to get Trent, being able to get Gakpo. This is like getting 4 players for 1 or 2 players. But interesting to see you're starting Greaves ahead of both Robinson and Timber.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fully set on that. I just saw Southampton at home, and then the anti-Liverpool side put Greaves right into the starting 11. I see Timber against City at home. I'm not very excited by that because it's not an easy game, and I do think City will score. The only competition for Greaves here is Robinson. So still a 50-50 there. Again, Newcastle away is not a great game, but Robinson does have that attacking threat. I am really tempted by Southampton at home and maybe Greaves getting like a header or something. A goal and a clean sheet. Not bad. He did get a goal in the previous game, if you didn't notice.
Maybe he was the one who broke my double defense from third bench.
So right now Greaves has got the starting 11 spot, but Robinson's close on his heels, depends on training in the last game.
Cool. Yeah, this is looking a lot lot stronger and very balanced. Like all 11 players have a very strong reason for being in the team, and you still have three excellent players on the bench. So I think it's even more balanced than some of the current no Haaland teams. You have the benefit of making 5 transfers at once, so definitely it looks good.
Yeah, and I'm pretty happy about Gakpo because I do feel like for those who, are playing the triple captaincy and don't have that extra attacker, I do hope Gakpo can help close down some of that gap.
Yeah, I mean it's very possible that like he's looking great. In fact, he asked to go and play in the Champions League game because I think he was playing his former club. But otherwise, and he played 60 minutes and he got a goal as well, I think. So he's looking really good and definitely first choice. Yeah, I think it's a perfect time to get him in.
And to this team, I still have like 1.5 million-ish in the bank. So I still have money to spend next week. And I just really don't know. I mean, I have like 15 players, maybe 14 really good ones.
Yeah.
And still improve this team. So feels really free, honestly.
Yeah, I think it'll allow you to make some exciting moves in the upcoming weeks. You can take some punts. You can pretty much go for anyone you want. Maybe once the double game week is done, like I guess a lot of these transfers were booked in because you knew you had to get Liverpool and Everton players. But after that, I think it'll be open season.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. That brings us to the end of this week's episode. Do like, share, and subscribe. Join the mini league code. Hopefully, you're below all of us in the league so that our percentile will look better. Any last words, Vikas?
Best of luck. We'll see you next time.